I was just sweating bullets. I'm like, these photos, they're not going to turn out good, you know. And I would take like 2 or 3 pictures, and I'd look at them in the viewer. And when you look back on those photos, have you ever said, man, I sure wish I had a better camera?
Right, yeah. Welcome to Run of Show, the podcast that goes behind the scenes of the event industry, one story at a time. I'm Tanya, your host. Today I'm talking with Liko Crump of Liko Entertainment. Thank you so much, Liko, for being on the podcast, taking your time out today. Let's get right into it. Tell me a little bit about yourself first.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in California and moved over to Florida when I was a teenager. I moved away when I was in my 20s to find something bigger and better. I found bigger but not better, and I came back to Pensacola in around 2009, and I was only supposed to actually be here for about 6 months, but then I ended up choosing to just stay here. Before I left in the early 2000s, I just couldn't wait to get out of Pensacola, and now that I'm back, I can't imagine living anywhere else. I currently am the founder and owner of Liko Entertainment Technologies, and with my business I provide photography, videography, podcast production.
You do it all.
And live event production, and for fun I DJ.
For fun, you DJ. Okay,
yeah,
we'll have
I mean,
to
I still charge, but it's but I do that for fun.
Right. That's the fun part, getting paid.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell me a little bit more about the photography end, because you do it all, but photography, tell me a little bit more about what you do there.
Sure. So I've always played with cameras and photography, and even when I was doing my DJ gigs 10, 15 years ago, I would always bring a camera and just take photos and stuff like that. And one year I was doing a wedding, and it was the Pardee wedding. That's Pardee. That's the last name. And while I was DJing, whenever I would have breaks, or maybe during a song, or maybe during the dinner reception or whatever, I was taking photos with my camera. And the couple had reached out to me. I had shared some of the photos, and they're like, "We love your photos, and we didn't even pay you for these photos, and they're some of our favorite from the wedding." And, that was a pretty cool experience, because I was just taking them just to kind of play around with my camera and learn the functions and everything. And as I continued throughout the years after that, in my last job, I actually took photos for events. And there was this one moment where I was at an event and I was taking pictures of the attendees, and there were some paid photographers there that were external from the organization that I worked for. And I kind of excused myself and said, "Oh, well, let me get out of the way for the real photographer." And that photographer then turned to me and said, "Liko, you get paid to take pictures too, don't you?" And I thought, yeah, I guess I do.
Yeah.
So maybe I am a real photographer. I don't know. And so as I continued, I really just kind of enjoy photography. I think that it's actually more difficult than videography from what I have experienced, just because the snapshots are so quick and you have fewer opportunities to fix something, because it's a snap in time, whereas video is kind of a moving target that allows you to kind of modify as you're doing it, and there's a little more leeway in the editing side. So that's how I got into photography, and it has been one of the tools in my tool set that I'm exploring more and trying to learn more. And
do you love it? Do you love photography?
Yeah, one of the things that I love about photography is that it does capture moments. There is a story that can be told in a photo, whether it be with people or without people. It could be scenery, it could be, a wide angle view of maybe a scenario playing out, or maybe it's just an individual. But there's something about when you're taking a still shot and you capture that moment and it freezes something in time.
Freezes a moment in time.
Yeah. And I think that maybe it was it was definitely more candid back in the days when we couldn't review the digital thing and let me take that over.
You couldn't take 100.
And it's the emotion that's invoked by photos and photography, and those moments captured are really neat to be able to partake in. As I get older and my memory fails me more, I realize why my grandparents or my parents or whatever always loved breaking out the photo albums, and I understand more the value of a photo and a captured moment.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. Captured moment. I love that. And before we get into any more questions, I want to share a story of my own.
Okay.
About how I've known Liko, or I've met Liko 20 plus years ago. Let's not
That's
count.
right.
Let's
That's
not
right.
do a full count. Then we'll really date ourselves. But it's interesting. Pensacola is one of those towns where there's not 6 degrees of separation. There's 2. And so we're both involved in a lot of the same organizations these days.
Sure.
And I found you, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's forever ago that we known each other.
Yeah.
And then I was out at an event seeing a band, and another friend of ours was the drummer for that band. And we took a selfie, and he sent the picture to you, and then I see you the very next day. I'm like, this is Pensacola.
Yeah.
And then I see you again, same venue, running sound for the venue. I'm like, see, it's Pensacola.
Yeah.
Pensacola.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm going to tell you what. So we're going to get into some more stories, but before we do that, I'd like to ask our listeners, if you're getting value out of this and you're excited to hear more stories about people in the Pensacola area, please give us a like and subscribe to wherever you're finding us. We are on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, all your favorite podcast platforms, and we are on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. So, Liko,
Yes.
Tell me about one of your favorite events. Where were you at? Who were you with? What made it your favorite?
I would say in the scope of photography, I probably have a couple of favorites. So one of them was for that same family that I took the wedding photos for. And they had asked me to come back and take pictures of their newborn.
Oh.
First off, I was not a professional photographer at the time, and I was still learning the basics of equipment, and they asked me to come take pictures of their infant. That in itself is a whole entire skill set, just taking newborn photos.
Right. It's a whole genre.
So I said to them as clearly as I could, I've never done this. These might turn out terrible, they just might be horrible. And they said, we don't care, just come. We loved your photos and we think you're going to do a great job.
They believed in you. That's great.
They did. They believed in me. And so I went and took the photos for them. The child, the little boy, he was so fragile, and he was real small and tiny, tinier than I felt than a normal infant.
Goodness.
And so I'm not even sure if he was a preemie or what was going on, but I was so just frightened to even move his arms and his legs. And so I would ask his mom, I was like, can you move his arm just a little bit?
I don't want to break him.
When I look back on those photos, are they great? No, they're not. They're not great photos. Did the parents care? I don't think they cared. They just wanted someone to capture some of those moments. And I got some photos with the couple and the baby, and whenever you do infant photography, there's certain poses, there's all these props and all this stuff. I didn't have any of the equipment, the props or anything. We were literally set up in one of their bedrooms, and there was a sheet laid up on the taped to the wall, down on the bed, and had some pillows and stuff. So were they fantastic photos? Technically, no. Would I feel right charging for them now? No. In fact, for that job, we just made a trade. I think they had some lenses or something, and they gave me some lenses in trade of photos. But to see the gratification that they received by getting those photos, even though to me they didn't look
Right.
but you know, their son was just as beautiful.
Right.
You know, they got their photos holding their baby and everything. And that to me was like one of the first times where I was like, oh wow, you know, this is, even though, and I have no interest in doing infant photography and newborn photography.
I was going to ask, is this something that you offer as a service now?
No.
No, absolutely not.
No,
Right.
That and weddings are typically things that I try to stray away from when it comes to photography. And but it was, you know, it's just kind of ironic, I guess, that the two of some of my most memorable photography things are ones that now, as a professional, I have no interest in, like going down the wedding photography road or the newborn photos. But I did love seeing how much they enjoyed them.
Right.
And so, even though it was a very difficult photography job, it was very gratifying.
Yeah, and it really sticks with you.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things is there are so many people in different genres of skill sets, and they focus in on the technical side.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to encourage people maybe who are beginning, or maybe you're just getting frustrated because you don't have the latest and greatest gear or equipment. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the technical side.
Right.
And I've learned over the years that it's less important about the technical side and more about learning how to use what you have. And you can use a mediocre camera and you can get some really great shots, because a mediocre camera today is better than many cameras that were around 20 years ago that were top of the line.
Yeah.
And they were taking great photos 20 years ago, right?
Right.
It's not like you went back to, you know, 2005 and be like, man, that $5,000 camera and that $2,000 lens was taking terrible photos. You know, just don't say that.
Great for the time.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I say this to anyone, whether you're doing photography, videography, if you're a musician, whatever it is, don't get too wrapped up in the technicals, and be more focused on the moment that you're capturing and the story that you're telling.
Great tip. The baby photography was your most memorable. So tell me about the worst event that you have, and where just everything went wrong and you were like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to fix this, and then you did. I want to know about that.
Sure. Yeah. So there was a couple jobs that I did, and it was actually for a woman named Grace. She owns the Latino newspaper.
Okay.
And she is such a lovely and wonderful person. She hired me to take some photos of the Latin Festival a year or two ago. I think it was last year.
I've been to that. Lots of fun.
And it was a gallery night. And then she also wanted me to take photos for another event, which was for, I don't remember what the name of the event was, but it was a big event for her. And I think it was some sort of anniversary event of some sort. And so she asked me to take these photos for these events. And the thing that was a little bit different about those events were I needed to use flash photography. Right. It was at night, and it was indoors where it was poorly lit. And taking photos at certain events where everything's posed and it's a very controlled environment, that's pretty easy. If it's daytime, daytime photography is much easier to do than when you're working with artificial lights, because it's just one more technical aspect that you have to worry about. And if you take flash photography poorly, it just doesn't look good. Even though there are some people who are trying to get that that 90s like pocket camera flash look. That's not what usually people are trying to get when they hire you to do an event. And so I remember taking the photos at the Latin Festival, and as the sun went down, I was starting to use the flash and integrate the flash, and I was just sweating bullets. I'm like, these photos, they're not going to turn out good, and I would take like 2 or 3 pictures, and I'd look at them in the viewer, and I was just like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And so adjust some settings or whatever. And it's like, I've practiced all of this and it's just not working. And I just kept taking photos and I kept modifying, and I took, hundreds of photos that night. And it was a similar situation at the next event, which was indoors, and I had to use a flash the whole time. The lighting inside was very poor. So at the Latin Festival, when I sat down, I opened them all up. Some of the and I edited them all and everything, and I was able to pull some images from that. I mean, I don't know, it was a lot of them. I mean, there was probably like 60, 70 photos that I was able to get from that and be like, okay, I hope that she's happy with this. And there were some of them that she just loved, and they were not my favorites.
Oh, right.
And she was like, I love this photo. I love this photo because look at the excitement and the action that you captured in this. Look how much fun they're having. And I was like, wow, that's not the one that I thought.
Yeah.
Again, going back to what I said earlier, don't get all wrapped up in the technicals. Just do what you can to capture those moments. And sometimes it's not the clearest photo, and it's not the the most pristine. Maybe it's not 100% tack sharp in focus, but does it capture a moment and tell a story?
Right. Does it tell a story?
Yeah. And so, and a great example of that is when you look through your old family photos, or you look at a bunch of photos that maybe were taken on a disposable point and click thing from something 20 years ago or 25 years ago. When you look back on those photos, have you ever said, man, I sure wish I had a better camera?
Right. Yeah, it's all about the moment.
Yeah, you just look at the moment and you're like, oh, I remember
that.
You feel that moment again.
Yeah.
And so that was super stressful, and I was like hating life during in the moment. I'm like, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
She's paying me to take these photos. None of them are going to turn out. And it worked out. And then, so the next thing that I did for her was an indoor, and again, it was almost like the same experience. I felt like, oh, these are not turning out good. And so she had reached out to me afterwards, and she was happy with them. She had reached out to me afterwards, and she was like, well, hey, is it okay if I forward the photos over to a magazine?
Oh.
And can they use them? I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to use my photos. and it was for Faces magazine.
Oh.
And Steve, he ended up using all of my he ended up using photos for the whole feature in the magazine, and then even put one of my photos on the cover of
the cover.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
yeah.
How exciting.
And so to see my photo on the cover with my name on it, I was like, wow. I was so just scared.
Why were you scared?
I was scared because I didn't think that they were turning out.
Yeah.
The photos were turning out. One of the things, unless you have this a big monitor to display your photos as you're taking them.
Right. Who has that?
That little tiny screen, you can't really see how good the photo is, and it's not edited on there, so you can't see if it's fully in focus. You can't see how everything kind of turned out. You don't really know until after the event, and you plug,
them up.
you put it up on your computer screen, and you're like, well, I thought that was a good shot, and it's terrible. Or you pull up one, you're like, wow, that's actually pretty good. I have something to work with here.
Yeah.
So I would say that those would be the two events where I just thought it was going to be 100% train wreck.
Gosh.
And it ended up working out in the end. Way better than I had anticipated.
So that's the thing. We all tend to be so hypercritical of ourselves, which it's bad but good in a way, because then you tend to focus a little bit more.
Sure.
So with that being said, tell me, what are your best tips and tricks for getting those really great pictures that capture those moments?
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Well, first off, if you are taking photos where people are talking, you have to take a lot of photos of someone talking, because most of the time, most of the time they're not making a face that is complimentary.
Right, complimentary for a picture.
Most of the time, you'll get the best shots right when they start talking and right when they finish, because they usually have longer pauses of smiles, or maybe they greet the crowd and they're smiling while they're talking versus in the middle where it's not the case, and you get all those weird shots like you mentioned. And so that would be one of the first ones. The second one is again, don't get wrapped up in the gear. And if you are going to upgrade your gear, chances are that you probably have a good enough camera body. Focus on getting a better lens. The lens is more important than the camera body, unless you just have some really antiquated technology. If you bought your camera in the last 5, 7, 10 years, you could probably just get a better lens and it will make a world of difference. But hey, if all you have is the camera and the kit lens that came with it, which usually is not fantastic, you can still capture moments that tell stories with that.
Right. It's like having better glasses on.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like the camera isn't great, but the lens, that's what matters. Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the last question, I want to remind our listeners that you can find this podcast on all your favorite platforms. Like I said, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe. That really helps me to continue to bring you great content like this. For our last little question, let me ask you, what are your favorite tools that you use besides the best camera and the best lens? What are your favorite tools?
Okay, so let me think about this. My favorite tools to use,
like props, or anything you can get that makes your job easier as a photographer.
Okay. All right, so one thing that's not photo related that I use to carry my equipment and my gear around, if I need to move a lot of equipment, then I actually use toolboxes, rolling toolboxes that stack on top of each other. Because it's modular and they're much lighter than, say, heavy road cases or whatever, and they lock together, and so it's real easy to move stuff around and move a lot of equipment all at one time.
So you do a lot of stuff by yourself, right?
Most of the time. Yeah, most of the time.
To make it easier for you to get back and forth.
Yeah, so and this is that's something that someone can use regardless if they're a photographer or if they're a videographer or whatever thing you might be using. There's usually something that's sold specifically for that skill set, and it'll cost way more than if you just get some stackable toolboxes that you can use. And they're very durable. They're easy to find replacements for. You don't have to order them from some special
part.
Special place. So that's one of those tools that I think is essential and has made my life easier. There is a tape that's called gaff tape.
Okay. What do you use that
or
for?
gaffer tape. The experts will get me in the comments. I can't remember it's gaff or gaffer's tape, but it's actually used in like film and lighting.
Okay.
And it's used for all sorts of different things. I think that the original purpose was to be able to tape like the cables down to the floor, like in a studio, and make sure that no one tripped over them or whatever. But you can use this tape for everything, and it doesn't leave a residue. And so you stick things on, you can, it has saved people. I've put someone's shoes back together in an emergency, while they were out in the middle of the night. But the gaffer's tape is, I think, one of those tools that is not photography related, but it's an essential tool and makes my life easier. And let's see if I can think of a third one. Oh, yes. The third one is if you do a lot of events at night and you have to move stuff around where it's dark, or you have to load stuff in where it's dark, or whatever, one of those ridiculous looking headlamps that strap onto your head.
Like a miner.
Yes, because your hands are free and you can inspect whatever you're inspecting and do what you need to do. And that is, again, another non-photography tool that has been a lifesaver, and I use those things all the time. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think I have one of those because I use them camping. So now I'm going to put one in my photography bag. Oh,
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're ever doing anything at night, it's really great to use. If you're just walking out to the car and you need to grab some stuff and you need to look around, you just put on your headlight, you get your hands free. Whatever. It doesn't look cool, but it's very functional.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're behind the camera. You don't need to look cool.
That's right.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, you are such a wealth of knowledge. I really appreciate you taking the time out to be on the podcast today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you.